Welcome to Bloombox Growing Deeper. I'm Sarah.
I'm Hannah, and we're on a mission to help you become the gardener you want to be. Hi, everyone. Before we get started on this episode, I wanted to give you all an update, like we did last time, because it is the end of our greenhouse fundraising, and we are so happy to report that we did raise the full amount needed. So thank you to everyone who gave or shared our posts or helped us just get to where we needed to get to so that we will be able to build this greenhouse over the winter. And then by the time you or someone else is interested in shopping for plants or getting a bloom box next spring, you'll be getting those plants from our new greenhouse.
That's so exciting.
Yes, we're so excited, and we're so thankful. So we just wanted to make sure you got that update, and we hope you will celebrate with us as we do the groundbreaking and the ribbon cutting, and then of course the first round of plants.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And speaking of plants, we've got some events coming up. So we have a couple garden walks in the Lincoln and Omaha area.
Second annual.
Last year we only featured Bloombox Gardens. This year we're adding in some of our My Garden affiliate sites. So people's home gardens that they've affiliated with us, the Nebraska Statewide Arboretum. These will be in Omaha on September 13th from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And in Lincoln on September 20th. Same time, 5 to 7:30 p.m. And the way it'll work is it's going to be $10 a car or $5 a car if you are a member. And by paying for your carload, you'll get the map. Mm-hmm. And then you'll have that time period to visit gardens in whatever order you prefer and spend as much or little time at each one as you like so you can see the ones that you care the most about visiting. And we'll have gardeners there to answer questions and NSA staff roaming around between the gardens. So we hope you'll come out and see what great work people have been doing with native plants in Lincoln and Omaha.
And you can register now for those.
Yep.
At plantnebraska.org/events.
Awesome. And I'll link that in the show notes too. And then we have our all summer or all spring and fall, we do our greenhouse sales.
Right.
We do most of them on Friday afternoons, but we always do some Saturday ones to catch the folks who are still working. So we'll be in Lincoln on September 10th from 9 to noon. 9 to 11:30?
9 to noon.
9 to noon. And then we'll be in Omaha on September 24th at the Douglas Sarpy County Extension Office on 78th and Center. So that gives just kind of an outside of business hours shopping time and an Omaha shopping time. And then we have a sale just for our members.
Correct.
And what date is that, Hannah?
That's a great question. It's September 16th, and that's going to be 4 to 7. And at that sale, of course, we'll do all the normal sale stuff here at our greenhouse on East Campus, but we'll also have a little activity for kids and adults alike, some art and some popcorn and things. So we try to make it a fun kind of social environment.
Yes, we'll be there answering questions and talking about all the plants we love, and the popcorn was a big hit this spring.
That's right.
So don't miss out on the popcorn.
So we hope you'll join us at one of these events, or you'll follow us on social media if you're not in a place where you can join us for the events so that you can see what's going on. And thank you again for the greenhouse because we needed one. So we really appreciate it. Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome back to Bloombox Growing Deeper. We're excited to have you here.
We're excited for fall planting season.
Yes. Is fall planting season, and it's actually fall planting season I enjoy more than spring planting season.
100%. I don't know. I say that
we went
when it's
from
fall.
one to the other.
I mean, I just realized I've been saying I love fall planting season for like 2 months. I pretty much love whatever planting season I'm in.
Oh, sure.
I find fall planting season easier.
I'm one of those people who planted in July. So
I try not to do that.
It's not advised, but I did it, and they're all alive.
I mean, you can definitely have success with it. I just prefer to spend the month of July with my feet in the pool, instead of the dirt. But to each their own. I'm also usually by July, I'm realizing that I maybe planted more than I should have, and now I have to weed it all.
Oh, sure,
and water it all.
Yep.
So I take a break for a bit.
That's a good idea.
We strongly encourage, if not require, our project-sized plantings to take a break. in July and August, just because it can be really hard to establish like larger public plantings in that heat.
Yeah.
But I know lots of people who successfully plant in their yards.
Absolutely.
All
Yeah,
those
a few
plants you bought from us and set beside your garage and forgot about. Yeah,
that happens.
it does.
I still have one very dead plant just sitting in its pot next to my house.
Have a pile of pots. So I'm at the greenhouse like minimum once a week, even when it's not planting season, right? So I should be able to bring my pots back to the greenhouse. This should not be hard.
Yeah.
They're still stacked in my carport, waiting to come back to the greenhouse. And apparently it was a really hot spot because all the pots melted.
What?
I mean, when pots melt, they just like crumple up.
Yeah.
The flats are fine, but the pots, when they don't have soil holding them in their shape,
yeah, they shrink.
They shrink like shrinky dinks.
Oh my gosh, shrinky dinks. Yes. I love those. Blast from the past. Not even in the greenhouse do we see those pots shrink.
Well, because they're full of soil. Yeah,
Well,
actually, you will. Like if we leave them stacked places,
okay.
they will do that.
That does that. Okay.
But in the shade house, there's shade cloths, so they're never like in the direct sun for that long, and they're just like on my pavement next to my white house, just taking the full morning sun.
Sure. Okay. And today is Labor Day.
It is.
So happy Labor Day, everybody.
What better day to dig a hole?
That's right. Hopefully you get the day off or you get some time off to celebrate, because that's what Labor Day is all about, right? Labor Day celebrates the fact that we have safe working conditions and some would say some safe working hours. Although that's not true across the board, but we'll keep working.
On your industry.
That's right.
But we have more people working in safe conditions and working hours than we have in the past. So there's that.
Can I tell a quick story?
Please do.
It's not historically accurate. It does remind me of a Parks and Rec episode where Leslie is talking about one of the murals in the city hall. And she's like, this is the Great Bread Factory Massacre because everyone died in this bread factory when it lit on fire.
Oh my
in Bonnie. She goes, but the whole town smelled like bread for days. So somewhat pleasant. And I was like, oh no, that's what Labor Day stopped from happening. Now you can get out if your factory has a fire.
I'm speechless in light of that story.
Just remember it's fictional, but that did happen actually.
Does make me think of yesterday. The weather cooled off a little bit. We just had a little bit of rain, and then yesterday was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I usually bike to daycare to pick Silas up. We only live like a few blocks away. And I got home and I was talking to Nick and I was saying, man, everybody must be out barbecuing in the nice weather because the whole town smells so good. And he's like, they're burning trash at the dump.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it still smells good. I don't know. Our dump doesn't take trash. It just takes like lawn material. So it just smelled like a campfire. And I thought it smelled like people, because we grill on charcoal.
Sure.
Not everybody does. But I thought it smelled like the grill.
Well, that's another good thing to do on Labor Day. Barbecue, grill. And I think most people would agree that Labor Day marks the culturally official end of summer.
No more white pants.
No more white after Labor Day. That's right.
Yeah, I don't own white pants.
Neither do I.
Gardeners should not own white pants.
Nope. So that's why we're here to talk about fall.
We are. So it's kind of confusing because in our last episode, we kept reminding you that it's still summer. And now we're like, and happy fall planting. So I think a lot of people call fall planting anything that happens like after August.
Yeah.
And the main, maybe excuse for this, even though September is still arguably at least partly summer, is that we're establishing plants into the fall rather than planting in the spring and establishing plants into the summer. And it is not as different as you would think in, what we do, but I find fall planting to be very enjoyable, working conditions wise, as
Yeah.
we talk about on Labor Day, and success wise,
Mm-hmm.
because we're not sending plants straight out into the summer heat.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you get them planted in September, you have enough time to get those roots established that they'll be fine through the winter.
Yeah. And it does, what your fall planting window is going to change depending on where you are. And even in Nebraska, it varies quite a bit. My rule of thumb is I like to have 4 weeks from planting to when it's consistently like freezing hard at night and not warming up much in the daytime.
Yeah.
That's my personal, I think everybody has, like, based on their experience, they won't plant grasses after this day.
Right.
But that's my kind of rule of thumb.
Mm-hmm. I also like fall planting better just because spring is so busy for us that I feel like I work all day. Then I go home and on the weekend, I'm just like, I got to get more plants in the ground. I got to dig this up. So in the fall, while it is still busy, it's not quite as go, go, go. So get to do a little bit of planting.
Yeah.
Leisurely planting.
I agree. And I kind of do my, I almost feel like I'm panic planting in the spring. Kind of like, I got to do all the planting. Everything's blooming in the greenhouse. I bought this. I bought that. I got to plant it before it dies in its pot in my driveway. I planted, this pile of pots is, kind of scary because it's only my 3-inch pot. It's not my vegetables. It's not...
That's the other thing about spring.
Quartz, it's not my trees. And in the fall, I'm like, I'll plant a little bit of this, I'll plant a little bit of that. I'll start working a new bed for next spring, but I'm not really in a hurry about it.
Mm-hmm. And you might be trying to get your fall greens in or something, but you're not also trying to get all your vegetables in the ground and established. That, for me, is another challenge of spring planting.
And I'm not knowing they're going to bloom in a month.
Yeah.
So I'm planting stuff in the fall already calmer because I'm planting it now to see it next summer. If I plant in the spring, there's pretty decent hope you're going to see that bloom this year. So it's like, oh, I want to see that bloom. I want to see that bloom. I better plant it now. And in the fall, it's just kind of like, well, if I didn't get it planted in the fall, I'll get it planted in the spring. It is what it is.
Yes. And I like that because your spring self will thank your fall self for that, because then you're just weeding. Which I shouldn't say just. Weeding is a chore, but you're weeding and you're watering and things like that, but you're not having to put in a full garden every spring.
And I think there's a big difference between weeding brand new plants where you don't want to let hardly any weed in there because they're taking water and they're taking space and it's easy to shade out your brand new plants. If they're when they're a little bigger, I'm a lot more forgiving about which weeds I leave. I really just grab the big things that are taller than my plants or ugly looking or actually endangering them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I tend to just ignore all the little things that are probably going to get shaded out and die anyway.
Yeah.
So if we plant these plants in the fall, by spring, they are bigger. And I'm not under as much pressure to perfectly weed while also, organizing project planting days and all of your guys' bloom boxes and spring affair and
spring sales
and everybody else's plants.
Yeah.
Then I can just do a little light weeding here and there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is the latest you've planted something? I didn't tell you about this question.
Yeah, I'm kind of new to fall planting, so I don't know if I have ever planted anything all that late.
Okay.
I put in a fall garden last year. I'm trying to remember. I think it was mid-September. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is
that's
pretty
good.
Normal. Yeah, that's normal.
I
mean, I've planted things late in the spring.
Yeah. Well, if you're planting in July, you sure have.
Yeah.
I don't think I've done anything too crazy either. I've planted projects in October, in the first couple weeks of October. Personally, in my yard, usually by then I'm done. By then it's so nice that all I want to do is sit outside with my book. And it just calms me down. Spring, I'm just crazy.
Well, you get spring fever.
You do.
You should do all
Bad.
the things.
Oh, man, I get a bad.
Summer. Yeah.
And the fall, I'm just like, pretty leaves, pretty weather. Here's a book and some tea, and I can enjoy it more.
And we're not raking because we leave the leaves.
Exactly. I do not rake leaves. Nope, not going to do it. I do know people in the industry who will plant as long as they can dig a hole. This goes more for trees than plants. I have seen some plants planted where I'm like, oh, maybe not.
Doesn't Justin have a tradition of planting a tree on Thanksgiving?
He does.
Yeah.
We'll save that story for I got sidetracked to there, but we're going to do tree fall planting.
Easter egg for next episode.
Yeah. We're talking today mostly about perennial plants, and we could throw in our fall vegetables too. We don't usually talk a lot about vegetables, but I really like planting a fall vegetable crop.
Yeah.
Again, because it's outside of spring fever, they're likely to get more care from me than things that I overplanted in my excitement of the spring. I'm talking to you, 10 snap pea plants that I did not harvest.
10?
I pulled some out because I was like, this is just too many.
I really cut back on my tomatoes this year because last year I went overboard on them, and this is a much more manageable crop this year. Yeah.
It's just so exciting. In the spring, I'm like, I want to eat everything that's green. And so I plant everything. And I forget that, like, you have to harvest it and then eat. Like, it's not just like you plant it and then it's in your kitchen. You have to do the middle steps.
Unfortunately. Goodness. Yeah.
So, mostly with planting fall perennials, I think the only trouble I've ever run into is grasses can be kind of iffy. And that makes total sense because plants only like to do one thing at a time. They like to grow roots, grow tops, flower, seed. It's not like they can't mix those four things.
And we should all take that advice from the grass.
Stop multitasking. And so after a grass seeds, if you think about it, after your grass seeds comes fall color and it's kind of done. If you think about your summer blooming stuff, they flower, they seed, and they go back to growing.
Yeah.
So grasses are really the only thing I've heard people just kind of say, if it's going to be a lot of grass in this garden, either, really got to make sure we're watering it and trying to, force some growth it might not have done.
Yeah.
Or we just want to make sure we stick to early October.
Right.
At the latest.
I planted some little blue stem that I'm wondering if it was too late for because I planted it 2 falls ago. Okay. And it is just not. And little blue stem doesn't take that long to establish.
No, it doesn't.
And it's just not doing its thing.
That could be.
So it might be time to
try again.
Try a different. Yeah.
I'd say that first week of October is pretty safe through like middle Nebraska. But as you get to the north and the west and for sure the panhandle, I don't really like to plant big swaths of grass, Yeah. I don't really like to plant a lot of grasses after late September.
I do plant almost all of my sedges outside of my bloom box have been planted in the fall. And they do really well.
I bet so, because they come up so fast in the spring.
Right.
The more growing a plant does in the cool season, the more it's going to take to fall planting.
Yeah.
And that holds true for what we're talking about. Grasses, a lot of our favorite prairie grasses are warm season. Our little blue stem and big blue stem. So that makes sense. There's another, connection to draw when you're making a decision.
Are you going to plant any perennials this fall?
I was trying not to, but I think I'm going to. We, mostly because I was walking through the greenhouse with Bob shopping for plant grants.
Well, you just have to avoid the greenhouse if you're not going to plant anything.
You helped write my job description.
I did.
I can't do that.
I kept you out of it.
This time of year, I am choosing plants for all of the plant grants that are going to get planted this fall, all of our little community projects. And so I went to the greenhouse and told Bob the things that I want to use for that, so he keeps them out of plant sales.
Yeah.
And so if you guys are coming to fall plant sales and you're like, how come there's no geraniums? He's probably going to tell you it's my fault.
Sarah's fault.
And I had like pep talked myself for this. Like, I don't want a fall plant. We're preparing for a big spring garden.
You had a no fall plant mantra going through your head.
And then I started seeing stuff, and I planted a desert willow this spring.
Right.
And it got planted kind of on the spot because I've wanted a desert willow forever. Bob got them in. They were going kind of fast, so I took one. And then we had to plant it.
Right.
So we made the bed.
It was a big guy.
Yeah, it was big. It was like 2 gallons, but the top was significant. It's so happy. It's the happiest plant ever. We prepared the bed we just bumped out the landscaping to make a little bubble for it and just mulched around it, and happened to have taken home some of that ruby crystals grass. That annual pretty fluffy grass. So I stuck that in there, and I had some zinnias I stuck in there. And I actually really like that combination, but anytime I see annuals in my yard, I'm like, but you could be perennials.
Right.
So I think when those zinnias come out, I might put in something underneath that bush.
It's a good plan.
We'll see. That's actually kind of my only spot. And then I have 2 coneflowers I need to dig up. They got aster yellows.
What is aster yellows?
It's a disease that they get, and I guess I've heard different ways that it spreads, but the most logical is like leaf eating insects.
Okay.
Nibble on one leaf, plant has a disease, they move it to another.
Yeah.
Kind of the same as mosquitoes.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the flowers mutate. So the first time,
cool mutate?
At first.
Like Hulk?
No. I mean, they do stay green. They turn green. Like, the first thing you'll notice is that you've got a normal coneflower, but then there's like the purple leaf, the purple petals on a coneflower, those aren't the flower. Those are bracts. The flowers are each individual pokey thing in the cone.
My brain just exploded. This is the first I'm hearing about this.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, keep going.
Okay. So each little pokey bit in the cone is a flower. And those mutate so that they also produce the bracts. So you've got like tiny coneflowers inside the cones.
I'm sorry, but that sounds real cool.
It's really cool. But that's only the first stage.
Oh, yeah.
The next year, or the next, like after it gets more infected, the flowers like stay green and then like shoot, like you've got like the flowers on top of flowers on top of flowers, but they only ever stay green.
Okay.
And then they never flower.
Right.
So they're useless.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't recover from that.
Yeah.
Once they've got it. So
it's
the plan
terminal.
has to go. It's terminal. And so I think when those come out, I might just stick something. I'll have to put something that's not a cone flower in that spot. But as far as I know, it's really only things like in that relation group that get it. So I could put a mountain mint or something
so many options
that would have no problem.
Yeah.
So I might do that. I might wait till spring. I don't know. We'll see.
Sure.
How about you?
I am going to create my fall garden in the fall. This is what I've decided. And you've already coached me through this, so I'm excited. You forgot about it. It's okay.
Did. Okay. I was giving her a blank look.
It's okay. So
I remember this.
Okay, it's coming back. So as I've talked about in multiple episodes, and I think by this point, fall is my favorite. Halloween is my absolute favorite. Thanksgiving is my second favorite holiday. So like, I really, really love fall. And I decided that since I love fall so much, why not just garden for fall in part of my garden? Because last episode, right?
Yeah.
Last episode, I talked about my porchscape that I do, and I'm going to extend it out into the yard. So the walkway all the way up to my house, I'm going to, on both sides, put asters, right? So that way I get that fall beautiful blooms. I haven't decided which yet, We'll see. I think maybe purple, because that's a good fall color. And I already have some pink.
Yeah. You've got Lady in Black with your goldenrod, so that's pink and white. I think purple would be beautiful.
I was thinking purple. So then I decided this, but I realized I'm not going to do just one thing. It's boring.
Yeah. We don't like single rows of plants around here.
No.
It's a great way to notice when one dies.
That's right. So not just one thing. So I said, Sarah, what else should I put with it? And obviously, because we're like, well, a grass for sure. So I'm going to put some grasses. I also haven't decided which one of those
Well, there's
yet.
so many.
There's so many. So it'll probably depend on what we have at the greenhouse that would fit in that space.
Yeah.
And then I said, what else should I put? And Sarah's good recommendation was, well, if you're going to have these things in the fall, then what do you want in the spring? So bulbs. Interspersed bulbs.
I couldn't remember what I said, so that was as much a revelation to me as everyone else. I love that idea.
Yeah, so then in the spring it'll pop up with some bulbs, and in the fall we'll have these beautiful asters.
And also asters are still pretty in the summer because they're green, and grasses are pretty in the summer. I love it.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I'm going to do that this fall, and that's it's going to take quite a few plants, but it'll be interesting because it's the first time I've done like strips.
Yeah, I don't plant in strips a lot.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. I'm already like, oh, that's going to make mowing harder. But that's okay.
If we gardened to mow, we wouldn't be gardening.
Right, yeah.
I do try to take mowing into account with corners. I like to make the corners of my garden something the mower can either like 90 degrees, so you can cut it off with the mower, or a curve that the mower can follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do this fall. And
I think
I'm excited.
That's such a smart idea to garden in the season, because it is true in the spring, we've all got spring fever, and all the spring and early summer flowers are blooming in the garden center. So they catch our eye, and we plant a lot of those. And then you get to fall and you're like, nothing's blooming.
Yeah.
Except this one plant I stuck in here because I remembered I should have a fall bloomer.
Right.
So it's a good way to stagger your planting.
And I think this will give me a better chance that it's going to have a really pretty bloom next fall.
Yes, because it'll be a full year old.
Yeah.
I think that's very smart. Instead of spring, if you spring planted, you'd probably get like a couple flowers, but this time you'll get the full show.
Yeah.
I love it. That's a smart idea.
I'm excited. I'll let y'all know how it goes.
And then
It'll
we'll
take
have to
a year.
remember to check in next year.
Yeah.
That actually...
Imagine that with my pumpkins if I do convert my lawn to pumpkins. You guys, I'm just going to have my own little fall pumpkin farm.
You should. Oh, I'll bring Silas.
Okay.
We'll come play in your pumpkins.
I'm so excited. I'm going to do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
What will Matthew think?
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care. Okay.
No, I told it to him and he was like, oh, do whatever you want. I also, this may be a step too far. I was like, what about sunflowers? Like the really tall
I love
ones?
Sunflowers.
Like I want to do like the 8-foot sunflowers. There you go.
And then people will be walking by asking if they can take their fall photos in your yard.
And
you can have a living photo booth.
Of course. It just costs $20. Checks made out to Nebraska Statewide Arboretum.
Help us build a greenhouse.
That's right.
Yeah, I love it. I think you should do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to take a chance to answer a question about bloom box that I get a lot that this conversation made me think of.
Yeah.
And I get asked a lot, what's the difference between the spring and fall bloom boxes? Like,
oh, yeah.
The answer is that you're planting in the spring or fall. I think people, when you read that we do spring and fall, it can come across like in the spring we plant spring plants, in the fall we plant fall plants. No. Bloom box, every bloom box, we try to cover spring, summer, and fall blooms. The difference is that we can't put together bloom boxes for everybody that wants them in the spring.
Right.
So we take a limited number of people in the spring and a limited number of people in the fall. And everyone gets spring, summer, fall bloomers. The only like real difference is I have different plants available to me at different times of year based on what the nursery has sold to other people. So
right.
That's not necessarily seasonal. That's sale habits. So I do try to do different plants so that somebody who bought both gets something different. But everybody gets spring, summer, fall bloomers because it can be hard to think forward to that next season. But we want our gardens blooming all year.
Yeah, that has been one of my biggest areas of growth in my personal gardening, is not just grabbing, ooh, I want this, ooh, I want this, ooh, I want this. I still do that.
Yeah.
But I also go, okay, now what's going to bloom in the spring and the summer and the fall, and what's going to provide good winter interest? Because I did notice early on that my gardens, I was like, this looks so good in May.
Yeah.
Like,
And then I think every garden has like a midsummer slump,
yeah.
but that's just being in Nebraska. We get that like really, really hot, humid time, but everything's like kind of living but not thriving.
Yeah.
And then we come back. But other than that little window, we want something all the time. I love to hear that you are like thinking about the next thing to grow on in your garden.
Yeah.
Almost my entire yard is designed by, I need to see how this works so that I know if I should give it to people in this circumstance.
Yeah.
Like my backyard is one big experiment. Or I need to be able to take pictures of this for Bloombox. So I need to plant it. And we're about to prep this fall. We're going to take out the rock pile that came with our front yard.
the rock pile.
The rock pile is going away.
Oh, yeah.
I keep calling it a rock pile. It's flat. It's a rock
Yeah,
square.
but it's just like
I dislike it strongly.
Yeah.
It's just river rock full of bindweed and crabgrass. It's coming out.
a gardener's dream.
I know, right? It makes me cringe. I'm like, anybody who goes by the front of our house probably doesn't even know we're gardeners because it's all happening in the backyard.
I feel this same way. My front yard looks like a mess, and people are like, "You run the arboretum?
Yeah,
you don't even have trees." I was like, "They're growing. They're just real small."
Coming. Before people like know where I live, I want it to look like I live there.
Right, yeah.
So we're taking out the rocks this fall because we're expecting there to be, we're expecting it to take some time and work to get rid of all those rocks.
Oh my gosh, take care of your back.
Yeah. Well, I think I will like be mostly observing.
Oh, okay.
Sure. I need to preserve my back for projects because
Yes.
I've got to unload trucks. So, we're going to take them out, make sure we've got time to take care of the very vibrant seed bank. I'm sure is
Are
living
you going to
there.
solarize?
I don't think so. It's too shady.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be very effective. So I think we're going to pull it all up. Depending on at what point in the year we successfully finish that, I may put down some pre-emergent if it's early enough for anything to germinate.
Right.
And I think we're going to change. It's very flat right now. And we're going to make a little half moon shaped berm so we can have some drapey plants. So we're going to build that. I like to do my dirt work in the fall.
Yes.
That just gives everything a chance to settle in for the winter. Spring is a terrible time to do dirt work because you will make it rain. If you put it on your schedule that you're going to be out there with your shovel, it will pour.
Yes.
And if you open up a whole bunch of soil and have it exposed, it will pour.
Yes.
So I do my dirt work in the fall. And then I'll probably have to do some pre-emergent or something in the spring because I'm sure that this is just just looking at it, it's full of weed seed.
Yeah.
And I'm going to design it almost pretty formally. And I'm really excited. I just never, I do this for everyone else, but in my own yard, it's just an experiment. Like, we need seed access for this plant. I need to see how this one does in the east because it came from the west. So really excited to have a designed garden in my yard.
And remind us again how big it is.
I would say like 7 or 8 by 7 or 8.
Okay, so a good size.
It's going to be it's like big enough to be big, but not gigantic.
Not overwhelming.
Right. So we got kind of away from fall planting. That's fall prep.
This is now just Sarah and I being like, so what are you doing?
Getting ideas from each other. And hopefully I would love to know what you guys are fall planting or fall planning for spring. Because this is the time of year I have time to like think before I act.
All other times it's a free for all.
It kind of is. It's like I I was working in the greenhouse and I brought all these home.
Oh, I've totally done
Now
that.
I need to plant them before they die. So where should they go? This looks good.
That one spring when Bob hurt his back. So we had to help in the greenhouse a lot more, which was totally fine. All cool. But I bought more plants than I ever intended because I was there more frequently.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has helped the less I am like formally in the greenhouse. The more I'm just there to shop for projects or help with a sale, the less plants I spontaneously take home. Yeah. I'm also prone to using my own car to do deliveries because I live out of town and I've got to have a car seat every evening. So I will like have to take my own car to load up plants and that's a dangerous move because I have taken home like my whole trunk and seats were full of a project. There's still the cup holders.
I did remember I brought vegetables back from Gehring
in the cup holders. Yeah. There's always a spot. There always. Silas might have to hold them, but there's a spot. Let's talk about the like technical. How do we fall plant differently than spring?
Well, in the fall, the green side goes down. Actually, we plant upside down. No.
That's amazing. I love that.
No. Topsy-turvy day.
It's still green side up.
Green side up.
Always. I don't know that there's a whole lot different I do at planting.
Yeah.
But it is just like, I don't know that there's a whole lot that I do differently when I'm planting, but establishment can be a little bit different and a lot of times a little shorter. So you still get my 6-week plan for establishment is 2 weeks every other day, 2 weeks.
She's talking about watering.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Watering 2 weeks every other day, 2 weeks twice a week, and then 2 weeks once a week. So 2, 4, 6.
I can remember that.
Okay. In the fall, that last couple weeks, sometimes it's already frozen. Yeah. And therefore you don't have to water.
Yeah, don't water when it's frozen. Water when it thaws.
Yeah.
Right? So if it thaws in December because it warms up, you won't water again.
We had to do that this last winter. I was watering trees in January and I was not happy about it.
Because your hoses are not hooked up, I hope.
I was like cramming the watering can under the spigot and like holding it there with my foot so it wouldn't splash on me because I was cold. And I didn't want to haul the hose out because I knew I just had to put it away. You go into your house to fill your watering can and then come out of the house to water your tree.
Because I completely cover up my outdoor spigot.
And you don't have a small person to make sure it doesn't run into traffic.
Right.
Yeah. It was harder for me the ages he was to go in and out of the house.
That makes sense.
Now he lets himself out, so got to figure that problem out.
Yeah. Hook up high.
Well, he can't unlock the deadbolt.
Oh, okay.
So we just don't lock our door very often. We don't live in Lincoln. We don't lock our door very often. So you have to remember to lock it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, watering. So establishing, because also, do you do any like extra mulching or anything?
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I do not baby plants very much.
But we let the leaves stay. Like, I think that has helped some of my plants too, because especially, and I tend to do, this may have a thing that has to do with my success of fall planting. For some reason, most of my fall planting has been close to my house.
That does help. Yeah.
So it's being protected from the wind a bit and it's holding some warmth. Yeah. And that's where the leaves also tend to bunch up next to the house. So I think they're just staying a little warmer a little longer.
That for sure helps. I actually have my vegetable garden is in a retaining wall. That is over a driveway and faces west. And so it extends our growing season by like 2 weeks as long as we keep the frost off the top. The roots keep growing because that soil stays so warm.
Right.
So as far as like extra mulch to help things through the winter, I don't. If it's going to live here, it's got to live here. That's my attitude. Now, that I consider leaves falling in an area part of it's going to live here because that is going to happen every year. I was talking to Chrissy though, this afternoon, Chrissy's the community forester out in the Panhandle. And we were kind of brainstorming. They like to use pine needle mulch, which I love. I absolutely love the look of this pine needle mulch and the way it behaves in the garden. But they had a planting where it got put down by the city staff later in the year, after the plants were dormant, or the tops were. So they didn't see the growing plant. And because of that, they just spread it over the garden, which I can see, at the time, no problem, because the plant's not growing. But over the winter, as the snow load compacted that mulch down and it kind of like wove itself together, then in the spring, that plant couldn't push itself back up. So I think that's a good example of, like, we are not here to bury our plants for the winter. I've heard of that, like, mulching stuff in. That's for, like, tender perennials, things you're trying to, like, protect, and you're going to go undig it so that it gets sun in the spring.
Because people do that with elephant ears, right?
Yeah. Elephant ears, and, like, I've heard of people doing it with, like, lavender.
Yes, I am not that proactive. I would totally forget to dig it back up.
I was going to say that. I would not only forget to dig it back up, I would forget I'd even planted it or where it was.
No, I wouldn't be able to do that.
No, I think it's a good method for that, like, slightly tender thing, like that 1 or 2 plants you're just trying to take care of, and they're probably special, so you remember them and where they are. But I wouldn't do it to a whole garden.
I just pictured my whole backyard just in a foot of mulch.
I get questions too, like, we all know our vegetable gardens and our annuals, that when that early frost is coming, we can cover them with a sheet and keep them longer.
Or a late frost in the spring.
Or late frost in the spring, we do that too. I get questions from fall planted bloom boxes, like, if it's going to frost in October, do I need to go cover them up? And the answer is no. If it was spring and those plants had literally just come out of a heated greenhouse, maybe. But these are perennials. They've been living in the weather all year. And if you planted them in September or early October, they've enjoyed the gradual decline of the weather.
That they're used to.
They're used to. It's what they're adapted to handle. And also with perennials, it doesn't matter if those leaves get shocked a little bit. You might get a black leaf here or two there that froze a little bit. That's not the important part of a perennial. The important part of a perennial is the crown. We always save the crown.
God save the queen. Yes, the crown is the most important.
That crown's the most important. It's in the ground. Or very close to the ground. And that's the part of the perennial that needs to survive for next spring. So no, you don't need to cover your perennials with a sheet when we have an early frost.
I really thought you were going to say the most important part was the roots.
Oh, actually,
I messed up.
I mean, fair.
Maybe.
I would say it's like crown, roots, top. Plants can lose their tops a lot.
That's so true. Yeah.
Especially our prairie plants that are prone to being grazed upon. They are very used to having their tops get cut off.
Bison, husky Rottweiler.
Rabbits.
I don't know. I got a couple Liatris I don't think are going to make it past the rabbits.
That is fair. You do have some pretty tough Aronias. No, serviceberry.
Serviceberry. And we'll see if that comes back next year. I am just like, I got to write a testimonial for Bob's.
Remind me the full story.
Okay, so I planted it last spring, 2021, and forgot to water it. And so all the leaves got crispy and fell off. And there was some more new leaves. They put out, they did their like, oh no, and put out new leaves in the late summer and fall then. And I watered. I watered that one in the winter. I kept that baby going, and it came back this spring looking great. Yes. Okay. I did it. I babied it through that. That was my fault. Sorry you didn't get any water. And then I go out one morning. I swear it was overnight. And every single branch that was in reach of a rabbit had been chewed almost all the way back, but not quite far enough because there were still a few buds. So I think this poor baby serviceberry has about 15 leaves on it right now.
Alive.
But it's alive, and I have it caged. So we'll see.
I hope so.
I don't know.
I'm rooting for this.
I am
serviceberry.
too. Yeah. I've always wanted a serviceberry.
If you ever get a berry off this bush, it's going to be a miracle.
It got one berry.
It got one
year.
berry. That's adorable.
It was like, here's my one offering. So I just need to make sure to keep it caged for, I think, probably a couple years until it really grows up.
Yeah.
So,
I think it has a chance. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
If not, if it doesn't make it, I've already decided that I'm going to put a desert willow there.
Oh, well, I can vouch for... So the story behind the desert willows is... I don't actually know where the original one came from. Who gave it to Bob? Somebody gave Bob a desert willow. It was in an 8-inch grow bag. So that's an 8-inch diameter circle grow bag. That's like maybe a foot deep. And so grow bags are mesh, so the roots could come out, but the ball of the roots was stuck in the bag. It was half planted behind a shed next to the greenhouse. Yeah. So it's not even fully in the ground.
Kind of like mulched in.
Right? It had originally been mulched in.
Yeah.
Because its buddies all went to projects and this one just got left behind. So the mulch like kind of washes away, but the rest of the mulch stays and turns into soil. So it's like half buried in an 8-inch grow bag. This thing finally died last winter in the hard freeze.
We got some
really hard freezes. Which is fair because its crown was above the ground.
Yeah.
But it has lived since like, I don't know, 2012?
Yeah.
13? Bloomed, flowered, was like close to 10 feet tall. So pretty tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's from New Mexico, but the cold really didn't bother it until, a lot of things died in this crazy cold we got. It was not just cold, it had like got warm, then got super cold.
And then dry.
So it was a bad situation. So I have just like dreamed of having one since the first time I saw those pink blossoms. And we finally got some. So if you're having a tough situation, I recommend a desert willow.
Yeah. And in Nebraska, we think they'll be more shrub-like.
Yeah.
Stay a little shorter.
They're kind of similar to like choke cherries, where in this part of the state they're very shrubby and sprawly and suckery, and in the western part of the state they're more tree-like. They're not necessarily a tree, but they're more tree-like. The desert willow kind of ranges in its native range. It ranges from a large shrub to more like a small tree. Yeah. And I think we're going to have them very shrub-like here. I think they're just going to like the water and sit low to the ground.
Yep. Yeah. Sure.
Either way, too. I'll probably make this one stay that way.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to get a choice.
Yeah.
So when do we change our behavior in the fall based on weather? Because we don't cover plants if it's going to freeze hard. But once the ground freezes hard, you can change your watering schedule. So if you planted in October, first week of October, maybe a little late for your area, and now the ground is freezing at the end of October, you shouldn't need to water very much. I do water in the winter when we're getting unseasonably warm days and we're not getting moisture.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty
and
standard.
So if you had fall planted, stopped watering because the ground froze, but then late November, early December, we get some unseasonably warm week or so, and we're not getting moisture, I'd put a little water on. Again, I don't think I'd the reason I didn't get my hose out last winter is because I was completely convinced that if I got the hose out, I was going to forget it and then it would freeze.
Yeah.
So I just found it safer to grab a watering can. But that is what I would do. Otherwise, I would treat them pretty much like spring planted plants.
Yeah. And I don't do a big, and maybe we're probably going to talk about this in another episode, but like I don't do a big fall to do.
Oh, yeah, I don't either.
I tear up my vegetables
Yeah.
once they're done.
I cut my vegetables in half and lay them down so that whatever is going to decompose over the winter can.
Yeah.
And then I take out like peppers and tomatoes make quite a stalk. I take out the stalk part in the spring. That would be key. If you are a fall cleanup person, these would be the plants to leave this year.
Yeah.
Just don't add stress to their life when they just got planted.
I love fall plants. We've already talked about the grasses that only do one thing and we don't add stress to them.
Yeah.
Like, this is all the things I want for myself.
It's time to be cool.
Yeah. Just enjoy the leaves. Like,
come to Hannah's house for some fall picture taking.
Apparently, just a yard full of pumpkins.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I can't either. I really hope you do that.
I'm going to next year. I think I've been convinced it's going to happen. Yeah.
Just I don't do a lot of fall cleanup either. Like I said in the last episode, I kind of cut back plants in half through the summer as they finish blooming, and I will finish that off with the fall ones. To some extent, like asters and goldenrods, they will flower till the first hard freeze.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of like get preserved by the frost and are great winter interest in the garden.
Yeah.
It's like a nice goldenrod in front of some big blue stem with a light dusting of snow. That's super pretty.
Very pretty.
So I don't do a big fall cleanup in that sense. I will prevent really deep leaf piles from forming over the top of my plants.
Yeah, I had a leaf problem. I left too many leaves over my iris.
Yes.
And
I try to prevent that. I mean, I don't take all of them away, but I try to make sure nothing gets buried in a pile.
Yeah, because especially then in the spring, if you don't clean it off fast enough, then they'll rot.
Yeah. But that's really all I do. I mean, in the fall, I'm just kind of too busy sitting outside enjoying the nice weather, taking bike rides,
right?
playing
Drinking
at the park.
hot tea.
Yes, I drink hot tea all year round.
Well,
but
yeah,
I can stop putting ice cubes in it.
There you go.
I was, this is so off topic, but I was at home cooking the other night. I don't know what Silas was. I think Nick was with Silas and they had come in and I'm like, we meal prep for the week. So I'm in the kitchen meal prepping and I've just been craving a cup of tea. And so I'm wearing a tank top sweating in the kitchen with my hot tea with an ice cube in it because I wanted it so bad. So
love it.
In the fall, I like to have a fall tea party.
Yes.
I like to just like, I don't know. It's like the fruits of your labors. Everything has bloomed or is blooming.
Caramel apples.
Now
I'm just naming fall things.
The idea of those make my teeth hurt, but I do like caramel.
Oh, I love me some caramel apples around a fire pit.
Ooh. Yeah. So enjoy your fall. Just enjoy it. Put a few plants in the ground where you want to.
Take it easy, the grass.
Yeah. Since it's fall and we've been talking about all these fall flowers that we look forward to so much, what's blooming in your garden right now?
Okay, I have a few things blooming. One, I had 2 different goldenrods. So I have late bloomer goldenrods. My fireworks, which we've talked about a few times, it blooms much later. And then I also have, I just know it's Wichita something.
It is a seed strain of Speciosa. So Solidago speciosa is showy goldenrod.
Yeah.
It's native through like a lot of North America. And then Wichita it's got a cultivar like name, but it's just a seed strain found near
Wichita.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I have a whole nother goldenrod that is also about to bloom.
Cool.
Probably fully blooming. And then my ironweed.
Yeah.
Love me some ironweed. That just like bright fluorescent color is great.
Those two, yellow and purple, what a classic combination.
I know, right?
Oh, perfect for fall.
How about you? What's blooming where you are?
Well, my goldenrod's still going. Mine started earlier. I have Missouri goldenrod. So, no, I don't. I have one Missouri and one sweet goldenrod, Solidago odora. And they started in August. But they bloom pretty much. They'll bloom until it freezes. So my goldenrod, but then my heath aster has started.
Yay.
And I have snow flurry heath aster, which is a ground cover cultivar. Heath aster's kind of a beast.
Right.
It's tall, it's floppy, it seeds like you could not believe.
Yeah.
And this is a ground cover version of it. It's very stiff, and it's very sprawly. It's perfect over some rocks.
In the summer, I think heath aster, the snow flurry heath aster, can get confused for weeds.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because it is tangly and it since he shoots out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I'm too close to it. It is right around the place we sit all summer. So I don't know if I'm a good judge of that because it's very familiar to me.
Well, yeah, I totally get that. I think heath aster has weed-like tendencies.
I could see that, yeah. Especially, I actually keep its arms cut off. That sounds terrible.
That's morbid.
As it sprawls its arms out, I cut them off at the border of the landscape in this bed because we mow around it, and it's caused problems with the mower. Yeah. So I just cut. I mean, it's not a hard thing to do. Yeah. I just cut them off as they shoot out into the grass. It is kind of moundy and it's very dense, so it's a great weed shield. I think the other thing that makes it not look weedy is having the plants coming up out of it.
Yes, yeah.
So it's dense. It covers this whole landscape bed.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to shade you.
No, I didn't take it as that.
I just think that some people might consider the way it acts very weed-like. I
did not take it that way at all. I think it's important to know how to treat a plant so that it doesn't behave like that. Yes. Caloroe can be the same.
Yes, yeah.
It can behave very weedy if you don't use it in the correct way.
Yes.
So no, I didn't take it badly.
Okay,
but
good.
All summer it's very green and very dense, and when it blooms, you will barely see the green. It is a white carpet.
Yeah.
It's so pretty. I think I have an old picture of Silas sitting in a mound of it in a Husker t-shirt. So it's red and white. I'll try to find that. It's this mound of white with all my other plants sticking up out of it. And I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Yeah. Oh, fun. Excellent.
So we've not done a very good job in these episodes of reminding you all the different places that you can interact with us.
That's true.
So I just wanted to go through them real quick.
Yes.
We have an email. I mean, you can find Hannah and I's emails through the regular Nebraska statewide Arboretum communication, but Bloombox Growing Deeper has a specific Gmail address, growingwithbloombox@gmail.com. And then we're on Facebook at NE Bloombox, NE for Nebraska Bloombox. And it's the same for Instagram.
Yep.
So we do run a Facebook page and Instagram page separate from the regular statewide Arboretum. We share a lot of things back and forth, but we really tailor these pages to Bloomboxed and maybe more to the home gardener.
Yeah.
With natives than, the NSA page is a mix of us as a nonprofit and our projects and cities and homes. So
yep. Yeah.
A little more tailored. Where else are we?
Well, of course, you can find all of this information on plantnebraska.org.
Absolutely.
That's our website.
Always love plantnebraska.org. That is so easy to remember. Pinterest, kind of new. I've been doing a Bloombox Pinterest page for a little over a month now. And mainly as a way to collect activities for teachers, because we plant a lot of bloom boxes with schools. And I don't get into curriculum. That's not my thing. I don't need to. I'm just here with the plants. We can connect you to curriculum if you need it, but I love to craft.
Yeah.
If you would let me in your classroom to craft with your students, I would do it for hours. I realize that's not in your lesson plan. So I made a Pinterest page,
right,
with some ideas for kids at home, kids in school, some bird feeders and bee hotels and things like that you can make. Just, because we can't work on our plants all the time or they would probably hate us.
Yeah, unfortunately. They need a little space.
They need space to do their own thing. But we all like being in the garden, and fall is so perfect for crafts. So if you need some fall garden crafts, check out our Pinterest. It's Growing with Bloombox. At Growing with Bloombox. Wish they could be all the same, but Pinterest has been around for a while, so a lot of names have been claimed.
Yeah.
So check us out, share stuff with us. I am always here for a garden craft. So tell us what you're up to. And happy fall gardening.
Yay. Happy fall gardening with your tea in hand.
Yes.
If you can.
Next week or next episode, 2 weeks from now, we're going to talk about fall tree planting.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Don't forget to rate and review us. Send us your questions. Do all the things. Follow us on all of our social media that Sarah just mentioned. Bloombox and Bloombox Growing Deeper are both programs of the Nebraska Statewide Arboretum.